give me a few seconds. I'm going to do the audio thingy on my laptop and then we can get started, okay? What's up everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel / my podcast. I am the marketing nomad. My name is Prithvi Madhukar. In this podeo, we are going to be getting into what to do if you're struggling to get what you want. Now, honestly, for me, this entire podeo is something that I've learned the hard way. But the lesson actually stems from my childhood, and I'm so excited to jog down memory lane in story time for you today. So let's get into it. So when I was growing up in Singapore, we lived about 10 minutes by bus from the East Coast Park. So the East Coast Park is the largest park that is built on reclaimed land in Singapore, and it's a beautiful place. It's a really, really fun and beautiful place. There are barbecue pits, there are local hawker center stalls, and just really nice pathways made for you to take walks around the beach as well. And it's just such a wonderful experience. We would go there often, but more importantly, my mom and dad and their friends would plan these barbecue Sundays where we would kind of have a little picnic as families together. And we would set up near this barbecue pit. We would also go munch on the local hawker center food, which was, oof, so good, so good. And my mom, I remember, she'd cook for these picnics. She'd either make spaghetti or bihun or lemon rice, and then she'd pack it into lunch boxes for us. Each family would kind of bring their own food, like a potluck, basically. And we would sit down, we would have these wooden benches. We would sit down on them and we would eat, we would frolic in the water, we would run around, we would play with the ball. Basically, there was a lot of things that we would do. And honestly, one of my fondest childhood memories. So one such occasion, all right, I decided I wanted to collect seashells and pebbles. And so that became more of a routine for me every single time we went for barbecue Sundays. So I'd walk up to my mom and I'd ask her, well, Mommy, can I have something to collect the seashells and the pebbles with? And yes, I said pebbles. I don't know why, but I just love pebbles. I have this really strong liking towards tiny pebbles. I don't know why it is, but I do. So let's just get on with the story. So I'd ask my mom, and my mom, she'd pause mid-conversation with her friends. She'd look around the table and she'd find a paper cup for me to hold whatever it is that I wanted to collect. And so I would, take the trash out of that cup, whatever was there. Maybe they would have kept some spoons or some newspapers wrapped up. They would just put it in there. So I would throw that out and then I'd wash it in the cool bluish green water that was in there. And this was based on the instructions that my mom gave, okay? Because sometimes she couldn't find a proper paper cup that was unused. And so she would just tell me, just throw the trash, wash it in the water, and then you can do whatever you want to. And the rule was, okay, my mom set this rule. The rule was I could collect whatever it is that I wanted, but I couldn't take it home. And there's a very valid reason for her saying that or setting that rule. And the reason was, oftentimes, I would collect all of these seashells and these pebbles saying, oh, I need this for an art project. Oh, this could be used for this project or something like that. And what would happen is I would take them home and completely forget all about it. Yeah. And so it would become my mom's responsibility to take care of it. And I would never use it. I'd forget about it. All they would do is just, be at home, gather dust. And frankly, this is every mom's pet peeve, right? And so I was given very strict instructions that I could collect whatever it is that I wanted to, okay? But I had to leave it behind. And so I was fine with this rule because, well, she was right, okay? In that respect, I did it. I was guilty of, just forgetting it the minute I took it home. And there was already like a bunch of, pebbles especially that were lying around in the house that I'd collected from various beaches wherever I'd gone. So yeah, she was not amused by that. And so I respected her rule, and so I would take the paper cup, just throw out the trash, wash it in the water, and then I do my collecting, and then I would leave it behind. I would put back, just leave the seashells and the pebbles back, and then I would go home. So one such time, all right, my mom gave me the paper cup, and there's a little bit of trash on it. Like, I even remember, it was just like a newspaper folded up and just put it in there. And I think the newspaper was wet or something. I don't know what happened, but what I thought was, okay, well, it's just a newspaper, so I'm not gonna throw out the trash or wash it. I don't have to. I'm just gonna put the seashells and the pebbles, and either way, I have to leave them behind. I have to put them back wherever I found them. So yeah, why not? I just not do it, because, well, I was feeling lazy at that point in time. Probably very tired from all the water frolicking, okay? So I did that, and I started collecting the seashells one by one, searching in the sand, looking for what's there, what's not there, and then it had to be like a good shape and not something that was broken. All of those things. I had my own rules and regulations for the seashells that I was looking for and what I wanted to collect. So I did that, and after collecting a few seashells, I'd keep looking down at my cup very, very excitedly, okay? And what I would see actually popping out more prominently would be the newspaper. And so I'd like put more seashells, and yet I would see that newspaper, you kind of see the bits and pieces of the newspaper. And honestly, it wasn't the best experience, because I wanted to look down at a cup filled with seashells, okay? I really did. And I didn't know I wanted this. And so every time I was looking down at the paper cup, it kind of felt weird. It just didn't feel right, because at the back of my mind, even though at some point the seashells were covering the newspaper, at the back of my mind, I knew that there was a newspaper over there. I knew there was a bit of trash, and somehow the entire experience wasn't as fulfilling as I thought it was. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I think the newspaper was a little bit wet, so there at some point there was like this weird funky smell that was coming out of it, and basically I did not enjoy the entire experience. I was very upset, and from that moment on I realized, okay, you know what? Every time I get this paper cup, I'm going to take the trash out, and even if there is trash or not, I'm just going to wash it in the water, make sure that it is clean, and then I'm just going to put whatever it is that I do want, which is the seashells. And so this was the lesson that I took away at that point in time, and I didn't think too much of this incident, frankly speaking. Now, fast forward to almost 20 years, I guess I would say. Yeah, it could be 20 years, because I was about 26, 27 when I decided to use this lesson towards my business. So 4 years ago, what happened was, and we've talked about this in a previous podeo, but for those of you who are new, let me just share. So 4 years ago, my H-1B visa did not get processed, which is the US work visa, and I had to come back to India, to Bangalore, and start from scratch, start my career from scratch. And that's, at that point, I decided, you know what? I am going to start on my own. And frankly, I was in a lot of pain and anguish and anger at this point in time. And it had been about 10 years of me struggling to get what I wanted. And at this point, I was in a pretty dark place. I was constantly asking myself, well, is this what life really is about? That you just don't get what you want? You have these thoughts of wanting something, and then you just never get it, and it's constantly what you don't want. And every time I looked at my life, all I could see was things that I didn't want piling and piling up. And it was not just materialistic things. It was situations that I did not want to be in. It was experiences that I did not want to be a part of. It was emotions that I did not want to feel, feelings that I did not want to have any association with, or even, yes, people that frankly were not aligning with the person that I was becoming at that point in time. So there were a lot of things in my life that I did not want. And the more I looked back at my life, honestly, all I could see was things that I didn't want. And it was a very, very unpleasant experience, and frankly, leading me further down this dark place that I'd already found myself in. Because at that point, I had lost hope. I said, what's the point of even hoping for things to get better? What's the point of wanting something when all I have in my life is what I don't want, or all that I perceive I'm getting is what I don't want? And so in that moment of time, of course, this took a couple of months of me being in that place. One of the things that actually got me out of that was remembering this entire memory. And I don't know how it came about. I don't know what exactly was my thought process, but I remembered this paper cup. And for those of you who know me, you know that I find lessons in everything, in every single thing that's happening around me, in every bit of memory that I do revisit. I always try to find a lesson, and that's just my nature. I think it's something that I've built over the last decade of just constantly trying to find meaning in the experiences, the negative experiences that I'd been through. So at this point, I'm kind of on autopilot when it comes to finding lessons in everything, even if it's as simple as, I'll tell you, okay, and we're gonna digress a little bit. Okay, so I remember there was this nest right outside my front door, and I could always see the mother bird being so protective of her two babies that were born in that nest. And frankly, just looking at the way that she was being so protective, and when they fell out of the nest, as they do, to learn how to fly, she was with them, supporting them, making sure that they were, not being harmed. She would keep flying around to make sure nobody was harming them. She would keep egging them to continue trying to fly. And those little birds, they would try to fly a little, but it would never happen. And then, of course, over time, I would say a good 12 hours, they would slowly have the strength to fly. And, but all through that entire 12 hours, I would see her be there just by their side, not letting them go, not going out for food or whatever it was. She was just there by their side. And for me, something that I learned from that experience was what parenting really is all about. That was just such a beautiful lesson to learn. And yeah, it was very, very, it was a very nice experience. And the lesson that I took away was how to be a parent, where you let your kid do what they have to, but you're there right by their side, encouraging them. And so for me, it is in my nature to find lessons in everything that I see. I love that I do that. And so one such time when I was looking back, and I think it was because we were having a get together or something like that, and then that brought back all these memories. So I remembered the paper cut incident, and the more I thought about that incident, the more I realized that each one of us, we have our own paper cup. We have our own paper cup to fill it with things that we want, as well as things that we don't want. And the most important thing about this paper cup, just like it was back then, is we have control over what we put into that cup. We also have control over what we want to take out from that cup. And the more I associated that entire experience with life, the more I realized that the reason why I was struggling so much to get what I did want was because there was just already so much in my life that I did not want. And that itself was, one, not giving me the space I needed to put things that I did want into my paper cup. Not just that, it was also overpowering the things that I already did have that I did want. And so every time I looked at my paper cup, aka every time I was looking at my life, what I kept seeing was the things that I didn't want standing there so prominently, overshadowing the things that I did have that were what once I wanted. Okay, and the more I did this, the more I kept looking down at my paper cup of things that I didn't want, the more negative self-thought was building up inside me. Like, why is this happening to me? Why am I the only one who never gets what she wants? That kind of thought process naturally tends to happen every time you keep looking down at a paper cup filled with things that you don't want, even though there may be things that you do want already in that paper cup. And so slowly, as the negative self-thought starts to happen, every time you look at your paper cup, every time you look at your life, it doesn't give you a good feeling. You get that feeling of unpleasantness, that bitter, lousy feeling within you. And over time, you start wondering if you have the capabilities. Do you have the capabilities? Wait, hold on. Let me restructure that sentence. What I want to say is, at some point of you constantly looking at your cup, you keep wondering if you really do have the capability to create a life with things that you do want. And frankly, all of these thoughts were going on within me, and they were very, very strong at that point, which was, again, very detrimental to my mental and emotional health. And as an extension of that, I gotta say, my physical health as well at that point in time. And so over time of this negative self-thought building and building, you stop looking down at your cup. And over time of not looking down at your cup, you start to forget that you even do have a paper cup where you get to control what you want to put inside it. You have control over removing things that you don't want as well. And so that was actually the point where I had reached. I'd forgotten that I had this paper cup. I had forgotten that I and only I have control over the experiences that I want, as well as removing the things that I didn't want from my paper cup, removing the, maybe the feelings that I didn't want to have, the people that I didn't want to have, removing myself from situations that I didn't want to be a part of, so on and so forth. And so after remembering this whole paper cup incident, I started to become more cognizant of the fact that I did have a paper cup, and the reason why I was struggling so much with getting what I wanted was because my paper cup was filled with things that I didn't want. And so began my process of removing the things that I didn't want. And I gotta say, that was the pivoting point of me setting up my business, because up until that point, I kind of become like a robot. It was a very, very dark place. I gotta say, it was a lot of negative self-thought and self-pity and just wondering if this was all life was about, and I could not find any peace within what I was feeling. But the minute I saw this whole analogy of the paper cup, the minute I felt that, yes, actually, I have control over what goes in my cup and what goes out of it, the minute I could get a little bit of footing on that control, that thought of control, yeah, that was when I started to feel a lot better. Because oftentimes when you're struggling with what you do want, you're struggling to get that, you start forgetting that you actually do have control over these things, and the minute you forget that, that's when you start letting things control you rather than you taking control of them. And that's exactly what had happened with me at that point in time. So the minute I started understanding this, my first step was not actually towards what I wanted. My first step started to become walking away from things that I did not want. And that was either me walking away from people who could not bring me the peace of mind that I deserved, who could not contribute to a healthy relationship, whether that is familial, platonic, or even romantic in that sense. And It was me walking away from situations that did not serve me walking away from experiences that I did not want to be a part of, me walking away from feelings that I did not want to have at that point in time as well, that were not aligned to the person that I envisioned myself becoming. And so for me, the way that I look at this whole thing and the way that I saw things shaping up for me was as I started to remove things out of my paper cup, things that I did not want, I started to slowly see the things that were already in my paper cup that I did want at some point in time. It's just either they were overshadowed by the things that I didn't want, or, well, I couldn't see them because I was so focused on whatever it was that I didn't want. And that happens. That tends to happen, especially with your paper cup. And so as I slowly started removing the things that I didn't want, I started seeing the things that I did have that were already in my paper cup that I did want. And that started to give me a little bit of peace, a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness, because now I was starting to trust that yes, actually, there are things in my life that I once wanted and I did have. And so that also means that in the future, whatever I do want, I can get it and I can put it into my cup. And I only have control over what goes in my cup as well as what goes out of it. Hold on, we are running out of battery on my camera and we are going to just change that and then get back. Hold on. All right, I'm back. And so I'm gonna give you one more example. So in my business, all right, after a point where, I'd gotten substantial peace, I was looking to expand my business. What had happened was I really wanted to set up an Etsy shop. And at that point, honestly, I had already set up multiple streams of income for myself, but at the same time, it was taking so much of my time that I did not really have the capacity to start an Etsy shop. And so at that point, I really did want an Etsy shop. I knew it aligned with my business. I knew I could create these digital products that could help solopreneurs, that could add an additional, I guess I would say, benefit for people who wanted to start their business, so on and so forth. And so at that point, I knew I did want that. I really, really did want to have an Etsy shop. But at the same time, I had already so many things that were taking my time, and frankly, I did not have the capacity to start an Etsy shop. So at that point, I took a hard look at the things that I had. And at that point, my membership program, even though it started off really, really well, at that point, it had been about 1.5 years into it. It wasn't doing as well as I thought it would, and frankly, it was draining a lot of my energy as well. And so it had become something that was in my paper cup that I didn't want. And so I took some time to wrap that up, to remove it from my paper cup, because it was no longer serving me. It was no longer aligned to the vision that I had for my business. It was no longer what I wanted. And so I took some time. Of course, I think it took me 2 months to wrap things up in that and then slowly, remove it from my paper cup. And then there was space for me to add what I did want, which was the Etsy shop. And I've not looked back since. I think I've had over 450 sales on my Etsy shop as of this podeo publishing. But what I do want to say is, if I had not recognized what I didn't want, it would have been a little bit more difficult for me to add in what I did want. And I think it is a little bit of human nature that when we think of what we do want, there's this rush within us. Like, we tend to rush towards whatever it is that we do want. But what I've come to understand is every time you feel you want something, you recognize that, all right, this is something that I want in my life. What I've come to do and understand and recognize is important to do is first taking a look at your paper cup in that moment of time, recognizing what it is in your paper cup at that moment in time that you don't want, and take the time to first walk away from whatever it is that you don't want, and then figure out steps towards what it is that you do want. And so if at this moment in time, of course, you've clicked this video, so I guess there's a part of you that's struggling to get what you do want, all I've got to say is the first step, the simplest way, all right? The first step that you should be taking, and this is the simplest way, is to walk away from the things that you don't want. So take a look today, take a look at your paper cup today, and try to see what it is in it that does not align with who you are today, is not what you want. And it could be anything. It could be your feelings, your emotions, situations, people, experiences, materialistic things as well. What is it in your paper cup at this moment in time that you don't want? Get those out first. Take the time to first walk away from what you do want. And I've said this in another podeo. Yes, you could, take steps towards what you want. Yes, of course. But what I've come to understand is if you want the experience of getting to what you want to be pleasant, to have a good feeling after it, for you to recognize that it is in your life or you have gotten what you want, for you to truly experience it in the best way possible, you getting what you do want, the simplest way to get that is to first walk away from things that are not serving you, from things that you don't want. And like I always tell people, I've said this I think to 3 or 4 people, you can get there, okay? You can get what you want. But how you want that experience to be is on you. Do you want it to be where you finally do get what you want, but you keep looking at your paper cup and it's not fulfilling you, it's not what you want, you have this unpleasant feeling, you keep staring at the things that you don't want that have become more prominent over time? Or do you want the experience to be where you have a paper cup filled with just the things that you do want? And that itself brings you a different kind of joy, a different kind of peace, because you've done the hard work of removing whatever it is that you don't want, and now you're left with things that only and only bring you peace. And this is a concept that I personally apply to my life as well. Every now and then, I keep reevaluating, okay, well, I've got this paper cup, I have control over what goes in it. I also have control over what I want to remove from it. And so every now and then, sometimes what you did want at some point now becomes what you don't want. That's okay. That's absolutely okay. Take a look at your paper cup. See whatever it is that you don't want. And the first step you should be taking is to remove that from your paper cup before you walk towards whatever it is that you do want. And from what I understand, every single time you recognize what you do want, oftentimes you recognize something that you do want because there is something in your paper cup at this moment in time that you don't want that is in relation to that as well. And so in our rush towards this thing that we want, whether it's the feeling that we want to feel or the experiences that we want to experience or the situations that we want to find ourselves in our rush, we often forget that there is a simpler way to go. And yes, it might take a little bit more time, it might need a little bit more patience, but it really helps to first remove whatever it is that you don't want. And I'm going to give you examples. Let's talk about in the romantic sense. You want a healthy relationship. You want to be with someone who adds to your happiness. You want to be with someone who you feel that natural peace and joy with. And it's very, very natural for us to run towards that, to rush towards that. But if you were to take a second, okay, just a second to look at your paper cup right now, maybe you see things that are not serving you. Maybe you have codependency patterns. Maybe you have a tendency to reach out to emotionally unavailable people. Maybe you have a tendency to forego your needs, your desires in your pursuit of I guess I would say adhering to what other people want, so on and so forth. I guess I would say people pleasing in a way. You've got to first remove all of that, right? You've got to first remove all of that, because if you want a healthy relationship, you have to contribute to that healthy dynamic. There's contribution from both sides. And so in that sense, you've got to walk away from all the things that are keeping you back from being a healthy person. And being a healthy person does not mean you don't have things that are stopping you, but it's more about you being cognizant that they are stopping you and working on them, actively working on growing and evolving and healing those. That's what I perceive to be a healthy person. So a healthy person is not a person who's completely healed, but is a person who is cognizant of what needs to be healed, and they are aware that, sometimes they are the biggest person stopping them from achieving what they want or getting to where they want, and they're constantly working on becoming a better version of themselves, evolving into a better version of themselves, and constantly looking to find peace in different areas of their life. That is what I perceive to be a healthy person. And so to be in a healthy relationship, you've also got to contribute to that healthy dynamic, right? And so for that, there are things in your paper cup right now that you've got to remove so that you can make space for what it is that you do want. And in terms of business, if you want to start your business, that's what you really want to do, you've got to first remove things that aren't serving you. Maybe your limiting beliefs, or, the sense of, the thoughts of being in competition with other people. Rather, promote self-competition instead. Or thoughts that are hindering you, thoughts that are causing a lot of self-doubt. Those are things that you have to walk away from if you want to start a business or if you want to start something on your own. And I did that. I had to do that, because otherwise, even if I did get what I want, which was to start my own business, I wouldn't have had it in me to sustain it. It would have crumbled. And again, it would have gone into the things that I didn't want, right? So my thought process about this is, if you're struggling to get what you want, all right, pause for a second. Just pause. Don't focus on getting what you want. Look at your paper cup. First off, remember you have a paper cup. Each one of us, we have a paper cup. I'm going to emphasize on this again and again and again, because oftentimes we forget. We get into this negative self-thought. We forget that we have a paper cup. We just keep, building the narrative that we don't have control over getting what we want. And it's a very, very negative and dark headspace to get into, and it's very difficult to get out of that. So I would like to remind you, if this is the takeaway that I wish you to have, then this is it. Remember, you have a paper cup. Remember that you have control over what you do want to put in that paper cup. You also have absolute control in removing what you don't want, what is not serving you, from that paper cup as well. And the minute you find yourself in the struggle of getting what you want, you find yourself getting into that thought process where, I keep trying all my life, I've just kept not getting what I want. If you find yourself getting into that negative thought process, or you are losing faith in yourself in respect to getting what you want, what I do want to say is, remember you have a paper cup. Start looking for things in your paper cup that you don't want. Look for those. Pause from your pursuit of getting what you want. Look at your paper cup. Start working towards removing whatever it is that is not serving you, whatever it is that you don't want. And frankly, when you do that, okay, it also gives you that mental clarity, because like I told you, okay, every time I kept looking at the paper cup as a kid, I would see the seashells, I would see the pebbles, but at the same time, I would also see the trash. And I guess in a way today, what I would connect that would be mental clarity. Even though you can sort of recognize that this is what you do want, there is no mental clarity, because the things that you don't want are blocking that. You tend to hyper focus on that instead. And so start by removing whatever it is that is not serving you, whatever it is that you don't want. Start by that. Pause on your efforts and your pursuit to move towards what you do want, and instead focus on removing what it is that you don't want. And once you've come to a good place, and it's going to take you time, all right? I'm not going to say that it's going to be overnight or everything's just going to change overnight. No, but as you start removing the things that you don't want, you are going to find that mental clarity. And as you start finding that mental clarity, it by itself will give you the next steps that you need to take towards getting to what you want. You will find that courage returning, you will find that hope returning, and slowly you will find your self-confidence building as well, because as you start looking down at your paper cup, as you start removing the things that you don't want, the things that you do have that are what you want start to become a little bit more prominent. And so you start having a little bit faith in the process as well. And you start having faith that, yes, you know what? I actually do get what I want. It's just right now it was clouded by things that I didn't want, but that's going away. That's going away. And so every single time I myself, okay, I do this as well. Every single time I feel, okay, I want that. The first thing that I immediately ask myself is, well, what do I have right now in my cup that I don't want? What is it that I need to do right now to remove what I don't want from my cup so that I can start my pursuit towards whatever it is that I do want? And I gotta say, either way, I think that when you take steps to get what you want, it's not that you won't get it if you don't remove what is in your cup. It's just that the experience of getting it, the experience of sustaining it just becomes a lot more pleasant. And that's what I want for you. I think that's what we all deserve, you know, because sometimes it may feel that life is working constantly against us. And I felt that a couple of times in my life as well. But the minute we shift our mindset a little bit, the minute we start recognizing the things that we do have that we once wanted, I think that puts us a little bit in a more healthier mindset that, yes, you know what, if it's happened before, it can happen again. You know, I can get what I want. And I think hope is very, very important. We've talked about this in another podeo as well. So having that hope also is very important. And I think this entire process just does that. All right. So just to reiterate this entire podeo, and we're coming to the end of it, just to reiterate that if you're really struggling right now to get what you want, first off, it is natural for you to feel whatever it is that you are feeling, that hopelessness, that self-doubt that is rising, or even that confusion or lack of faith in the process. It's absolutely natural for you to feel every single thing that you're doing. What I do want you to do at this point in time is pause, okay? Just pause your pursuit in whatever it is that you want and look down at your paper cup, okay? You've got a paper cup with you. Look down into it, start identifying the things at this moment in time that you don't want. And as I've mentioned before, the fact that you know what you do want, that itself will help you better recognize what it is in your paper cup right now that you don't want. And frankly, there is a contrast. There has to be a contrast, because you would not have recognized what you do want if there were things in your paper cup that you didn't want. It's kind of, can I say symbiosis? I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of connection there, okay? We'll dig deeper into that in another podeo, I guess. But yeah, it kind of works both ways. They're both interlinked to each other. It's kind of like a chicken and egg situation. Yeah, I think that would be a better way to put it. And so there will naturally be things in your paper cup that you don't want that are more prominent to you. So start by removing that. First take steps towards walking away from what is not serving you, walking away from what you do not want. And once you've reached a point where you're feeling comfortable, you feel that mental space building up, that clarity coming in, then you work towards whatever it is that you don't want. And I mean, whatever it is that you do want. This is like the second time I made that mistake in this. There's just like do want, don't want. There's like so many, I think I'm getting confused in my head. But I think you know what I'm talking about, okay? But yeah, that happens, I guess. So that's when you have the mental clarity to walk towards what you do want. And I think that mental clarity is important, especially when the journey towards what you want is, it's probably going to be complicated, but at the same time, with the mental clarity that you do have, it's going to be a little bit simpler for you to navigate whatever twists and turns that will come on that path. So yeah, that is me wrapping up this entire podeo. If you did like this podeo, do give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single time I do upload a podeo. Other than that, I am the author of 2 books. The first book is 0 to 4 Figures, Lessons Learned by a Broke CEO. Spoiler alert, that was me 4 years ago. Now, 0 to 4 Figures is a compilation of 61 stories and lessons that cover topics like self-love, relationships, positive mindset, growth mindset, success mindset, as well as things like business strategy and marketing. It's basically covering the first 3 years of my digital entrepreneurship journey. My second book is called Self-Loved, and it is a compilation of 1,000 journal prompts that deal with healing, growth, and self-discovery. The topics that are covered are like manifestation, self-reflection, daily gratitude, inner child healing, trauma healing, emotion management, so on and so forth. Other than that, well, I do have an Etsy shop. We talked about it in this podeo. So if you are, kind of into productivity, or you are starting your own business, you might want to check that out. Links are in the description box below. Other than that, I also have a series of productivity planners, journals, and trackers. It is called the Simple Series by the Marketing Nomad. At the moment of publishing this podeo, there are 18 of them available. All of my stuff can be found on Amazon, and the simplest way to find my stuff on Amazon is to search my name. My name is Prithvi Madhukar, Prithvi space Madhukar. So you can go on Amazon and you will be able to find all of my stuff. There's even an author page for me on there as well. Other than that, if you want to find me on other platforms, I'm there on Instagram at The Marketing Nomad. And I guess my final thoughts that I do want to say is, wherever you are at right now, I want to first stress that you have absolute control over what you put in your cup, as well as what you want to remove from your cup. Oftentimes when life is happening, it can feel that things are out of our control. But what I do want to say is, yes, you have control over what goes in your cup. You have control over removing things that you don't want as well. And sometimes that could also be, removing feelings that are not serving you, removing yourself from situations, from experiences that are not serving you, removing yourself from people who are not adding peace, that natural peace and joy that you will feel when you are in a healthy friendship or in a healthy relationship. It can be any of those things. And yes, sometimes it will hurt you. I think that sometimes it may hurt us to remove the things that we don't want, because there may be a sense of attachment. But trust the process. Trust that if you are not feeling peace with certain things in your life, walking away from that is going to make space for things that bring you peace. All right? And if you are kind of feeling that pain or that, I guess I would say, discomfort from walking away from what is not serving you, I gotta say, it is part of the process. Acknowledge everything that you are feeling. It's okay to feel that way. But understand that if you continue keeping the things that you don't want, then at some point, that's all you're going to see when you look back at your life. And I guess that is a narrative that, again, you get to choose for yourself. And frankly, if I were you, I would choose a narrative where, even though it did hurt me to walk away from things that were not serving me, at the end of the day, I did make space for the things that I did want. I did give myself the mental clarity to walk towards what I did want. And I think that's the narrative that I want to have for myself. So you get to choose that narrative as well, because like I said, it's your paper cup. And I hope that this podeo offered you a different way to approach your life, to view your life, and understand that Yes, you do have a paper cup to begin with. You have control over what it is that you want, what it is that you don't want as well. And I hope that this podeo gives you a good starting point for you to walk away from what is not serving you, and it gives you the clarity you need for the next steps that you need to take when it comes to your pursuit of what you do want. All right? Thank you so much for listening all the way up until here. I'll catch you in my next podeo. Bye-bye.